ships to stop illegal migrants. She went on to compare refugees fleeing to Europe to that of cockroaches. The article triggered mass public outrage, with around 280,000 people signing a petition calling for the author's resignation. Now, the Sun article is just one example of anti-foreigner sentiment in the UK press. The UN Human Rights Commission is even now calling on Britain to rein in incitement to hatred in its tabloids. In the damning statement, it says the migration debate across the EU is skewed by, quote, the nasty underbelly of racism, and that's making the crisis even worse. And even last night at the Security Council, the UN Special Envoy and a Hollywood star, Angelina Jolie, slammed the international community for failing to help the asylum seekers.
It is sickening to see thousands of refugees drowning on the doorstep of the world's wealthiest continent. No one risks the lives of their children in this way except out of utter desperation. If we cannot end the conflict, we have an inescapable moral duty to help refugees and provide legal avenues to safety.
So far, the plan the EU has come up with to tackle the migrant crisis is to, well, destroy the boats being used to traffic the people to Europe. Member nations pledging to send more naval assets to the area, including the Mediterranean, and the UK promised to deploy one of its biggest assault ships as well.
Of course, saving lives means rescuing these poor people, but it also means smashing the gangs and stabilising the region. Now, Britain, as ever, will help. We'll use our aid budget to help stabilise neighbouring countries. And as the country in Europe with the biggest defence budget, we can make a real contribution.
Well, political analyst Dan Glazebrook believes European leaders may be building up to a much stronger and more direct response.
I think the whole point of the rhetoric being used is precisely to kind of groom public opinion to prepare itself precisely for military action. This is a kind of pretext that Western public opinion is very loath to support wars of aggression on the basis of the old Bush-Blair type of pretexts of weapons of mass destruction and so on. The only kind of way they can really justify and kind of emotionally blackmail their own publics and the UN institutions that are relevant these days for military action is through humanitarian emergencies. So they've created a humanitarian emergency, and now they're using it as a perfect pretext to step up military action on the African continent.
And last month, hundreds of migrants stuck near the French port of Calais were forced to relocate to a new makeshift settlement. Today, aid workers call it the worst in Europe. And RT's Polly Boyka paid a visit.
Welcome to the jungle. Take in the tents, the music, and in the background over there, the trucks about to board ferries bound for Britain. The majority of the 1,300 or so migrants here spend their nights trying to climb aboard lorries headed across the channel.
Every day try, their France police catch me, say every day, you know, allow it from England, go England. Me say, okay, but come jungle, every night try.
On the day we film, around 15 new migrants arrive at the camp. At this rate, aid workers say there could be as many as 5,000 people here by summertime. If the road to the ferry terminal represents the migrants' dreams, then this is the reality, living in a wasteland. It's more than a kilometre to the nearest water tap. There's no electricity. French authorities moved all the migrants in and around Calais to this huge abandoned site less than a month ago. This is their new home.
They said, you move or we gas you, we get violent.
Maya's one of a few dedicated volunteers trying to make life for the camp's inhabitants a little easier. These roses have been planted outside one of the camp's most impressive structures. It's the mosque, built and used collectively by the migrants. There's a local economy sprouting up among these structures. Over there is a restaurant built by young Afghan men, and over here is something like a community centre where people sit, eat and smoke together. And because Calais is now a 2-hour walk away, some of these tents are transforming into convenience stores. This one you can see is selling bottled water, fizzy drinks and milk. You have to walk 1 kilometre east to find the first signs of government help. This is the Jules Ferry complex, recently opened by local authorities. It houses 50 migrant women and children and provides one meal a day and washing facilities to everyone else.
Because they allotted a place for the refugees, the way they live has become the government responsibility. So all of a sudden, the whole world knows this is what the French government offers to people.
Calais authorities say that just like the migrants, the town has fallen victim to the policies of other governments.
We've got to apply the French rules, English rules, because we've got the English border here, and also European rules. We can't do anything ourselves. What is Europe doing? But not only Europe. What are United Nations doing? I've got the feeling they don't do anything about it. Just chat.
The Jules Ferry Centre used to be a holiday camp. Rising above the sand dunes hangs the old flag. On it, a slogan that translates to the active life. It feels out of place, flapping in the wind above hundreds of migrants whose lives are static, on hold, dependent on the decisions of other people. Reporting from Calais, I'm Polly Boyko.
Thousands gathered at a huge event in Barcelona on Friday to make it clear they see Catalonia as being separate from Spain and will continue to fight to make it official. They waved Catalan flags while pro-independence bands played for the crowds. Last November, a non-binding referendum was held in the northeastern region that showed more than 4 in 5 support breaking away from Spain. Local authorities plan another vote later this year, and we spoke to some Catalans at that event.
It's an important act to show that we're united and that we, independent people, will continue working until the 27th. We'll win the elections and achieve our goal, which is independence.
If somebody has doubts, they need to understand how people can become interested in independence. We have a future.
It's been a long and thorny journey for the rich Spanish region in its push for greater independence.
Assumida, doncs, la decisió de fer ús...
We asked Anna Arquet from the European Partnership for Independence about the plans for Catalonia's future.
We are going to have country elections in September, and because of the opposition of the Spanish state to recognize the Catalan right to self-determination and to vote about independence, we are going to vote for independence in these elections in September. Independence is not because we are unhappy with the crisis. What we want is independence to deal better with the crisis, or at least so we can deal with the crisis without the interference of the Spanish state, so we can take our own decisions. So we are actually as determined as always.
More news coming your way after a very short break.